Hey, I'm in Chile, and for the next few days, I'm going to be exploring the desert of Chile, starting right now with this city, Iquique. Yes, that's right. Right now, I'm in the desert. It's hard to believe that there's a beach behind me, but believe it or not, this is a desert. If I just turn the camera around, then we're going to be able to see all the desert on that area, which is something that I have never seen before, like the desert and then having the beach on the back, which I think it makes the perfect combo because you have hot weather and then you have the beach, which is the Pacific Ocean, which tends to be a cold ocean. So it's a perfect match being out here, going to the beach and then having the desert, because there are some activities that you can do in the desert, which I'm going to be doing tomorrow. Not today. Today I'm just going to be walking around here and seeing what there's to do. Like one of the options, since we have the ocean nearby, that means that there's going to be good seafood, which I already had. I had a fish of the day, and let me tell you, it was really, really good. I didn't even had a chance to take a video, but I did took this photo and it was really good. So going back to the plan, what I'm going to be doing for the next few days, I'm just going to be exploring the whole desert of Atacama. Right now here in this city, Iquique, this is part of the desert of Atacama, which is one of the driest, no, let me go ahead and say that again, which is the driest desert in the world. Only receiving about 15 millimeters of rain per year, that's maximum. There are some other areas where they record about 1 to 3 millimeters per year, so that's very, very, very little rain, making this the driest desert in the world. So we're going to be exploring this desert. I'm also going to be showing you, like, a desert can be pretty adventurous. Like, there's pretty interesting things to do in the desert, because a lot of the people think like, oh, a desert's pretty boring, who wants to go to a desert on their vacations? Well, let me tell you, this guy right here, I'm gonna be I think this is like a totally different desert where there's a lot of things to do around here. So we're gonna be starting off right here right now with Iquique. I have an activity tomorrow, which I'm pretty excited to do. You know what, let's just go ahead and fast forward to tomorrow and let's go ahead and start doing that activity. All right, we have arrived now to the mountain, that easy. All right, so now that we are here on top of this dune, so this dune is called Cerro Dragón, which I think it will translate into a dragon dune, dragon mountain, dragon hill, like something similar or along those lines. It has a pretty interesting story of why it has that name. So legend says
that a long time ago, a dragon was expelled from China and settled on the shores of Iquique. He wanted to take over these lands and cause fear to the point of kidnapping the daughter of the chief of the tribe. One day, a young man managed to rescue the daughter, and he tells the dragon that he will forgive his life, but in exchange, he must stay asleep for a long time and take care of the land and its people. The dragon agreed and fell asleep on the shores of the coastal mountain range. Throughout the centuries, the winds and sand covered the dragon's body. During the sunset, the shadows make the sand change color, creating the illusion of the dragon's tail. Tradition says that one day the dragon will awaken, shake off its slumber, and be reborn.
Now, the main reason why I'm here is because in this dune, one of the activities that you can do is practice sandboarding. So I do have some experience doing snowboarding, so I don't know how it's going to translate into sandboarding. So we're going to go ahead and try that out, and hopefully it's going to be a good result. Also, one of the pretty cool things here is that the view that we have here is pretty amazing, especially during sunset, at least from the videos that I've seen. So let's go ahead and get down to this activity, and I'll show you all the results. All right, that was actually pretty fun. The only difference, I mean, everything feels pretty much similar to it. The only difference is that you do go a lot more slower than when you're doing snowboarding, and also the hard part is going to be having to go up that hill once again. and try to do it again. I mean, I think that's the only part that's gonna get tired. But overall, it's actually a pretty fun experience. I do recommend it. So I'm gonna go ahead and go out over there again and just keep having fun. So now I continue exploring the desert of Atacama, but this time I'm no longer in Iquique. I came all the way down here to San Pedro in this area right now called Valle de la Luna, Valley of the Moon. So we're gonna be doing this hike, which it's gonna be a pretty nice landscape. But the only thing is that it's really hot right now. I don't really have signal. I don't have signal right now, so I don't really know what's the temperature of it. If I had to get, it's around like 30, 32. Not really sure. It does feel really hot. However, there is wind, which helps. The only thing that doesn't help is that a lot of this wind comes with sand. So at the end of the day, I'm gonna be having all my face filled up with sand. I'm gonna have a new color. Also, the other thing that doesn't help for some people is that we are around 3,100 meters of altitude. So for some people, that's pretty high, and that's when you get altitude sickness. People were complaining with having altitude sickness, so you do have to get really acclimatized in order to be in this area. One of the big tips is always just make sure to drink water. But if you know that you're going to be coming to an area that's like a high altitude, that way your brain, your cells, whatever, it develops more oxygen. It helps. So far with me, I've been okay. Now with this hike, it probably takes about 20-15 minutes without breaks. We did take some breaks since we had to wait for some people, but it does take about 30 minutes with breaks, I'd say. So now that we have a ride to the spot, now we can see the beautiful landscape here, and now we can see why it's called Valley of the Moon, since it does resemble kind of like the moon landscape. So I just noticed one thing. One of the things that I've noticed is that we are at a really high altitude. So I've never been in a desert, or I never heard of a desert also that's at a high altitude. Normally when you hear high altitude, you think of mountains, but not desert. So now that we are at a high desert, it's like, oh, like, this is very unique. Wow, just look at that right there, that dune, the color. Wow, it's incredible. It's actually pretty incredible, and this is just the first stop. We still have a couple of more stops. One of those stops is going to be for sunset, and then I also booked another tour which is going to be for watching the stars. Since we're in the desert and there's no light contamination, it makes it a perfect place for us to watch the stars. So now this tour has come to an end, but now I still have one more left, which is gonna be watching the stars. Another day here out in the desert of Atacama. Let me remind you that I am in one of the driest places on planet Earth. And it just happens to be that I'm actually this place right here specifically. This is one of the driest points in all of the area. One of the reasons is because of the mountain range that is around us. It doesn't allow water to come here inside from the mountains, so making this one of the driest places on Earth. So something very interesting, as I mentioned, that I am in one of the driest places, is that there are some lagoons in here, but it's just not any lagoon. These are salt lagoons. Salt lagoons that we're gonna go inside the lagoons and float just like the ones in the Dead Sea. There are not a lot of these ones around the world, so we're gonna go ahead and go into one I'm just trying to see how this sensation feels of floating without having to do any effort on it. It's actually gonna be my first time doing it, so I'm pretty excited to do this. So now we can actually see all the salt here around the area. So we're approaching, there's the lagoon right there. Actually, all of these rocks right here, like if we cut one in half, they're actually gonna have salt in it. Let's see, like for example, like that one right there, we can see that it has some salt in that area. Now just take a look at my skin, how it looks after dipping into the salt water. Wow, look at all that salt. All right, now, so how does it feel to go into all that much of salt water and floating? Well, it is pretty interesting just floating there without having to do any effort. Like it's a first time experience, so it was a little bit weird at first, but then all of a sudden I just like remember like, you know what, I don't have to do like any of the movements to float. I'm just gonna trust the process. I'm just gonna float. It did happen, like you just stand still and you're floating. Like you can even pretend like you're walking on the water and you can keep moving. It's pretty fun experience. I do recommend it. So now we're just gonna go see all the other remaining lagoons. So we were at lagoon number 7. So this right here is lagoon number 6. And we were just told that this lagoon here, like the color of the lagoon, it should be the same color as the one in lagoon number 7. But because of people putting sunscreen right before entering into the lagoon, it changed into that other color. It gets contaminated. So that's why they always tell you to put the sunscreen at your hostel, at your hotel before entering the lagoon and not like right before. Still amazed me like all the salt that is around my body. So we were told that we were gonna get sprayed with some water just to clean all this off, since it's not really good for your body to have all this salt in it. All right, so now we're continuing with the tour around the desert of Atacama, but this time we're not longer in the desert. We are around the mountain range, but it is like an hour and a half drive from there. So I guess it's safe to say that this is still part of the desert. I don't know if that makes sense, but you know, it's within the same trip. So we came all the way down here into this area to see some geysers. So let me tell you, there's a lot of them. But these ones are different, like comparing them to the ones in Iceland where they shoot the water like really high. These ones, they don't. And one of the reasons is because the water comes deeper down from the ground up, so it has a longer travel distance to come out to. So when we see it out here, we only see like a little bit of water coming out. All right, so I'll go ahead and leave you with these images of the geysers. So the things that I forgot to mention, first, number one is the altitude. So we are right now are about 4,200 meters above sea level. So around this altitude, you can get high altitude sickness. So that's number one. The second thing was very interesting. Something that I noticed was that normally when you go to a geyser, you can smell like the sulfur, like that strong rotten egg smell, but not on this one. So I asked the guy, like, how come this one doesn't smell? Is it a fake one or what's going on? I'm just kidding. So he explained to me that it's because we are far away from the volcano. So if the volcano is here and then we're here, the water has to travel all the way down here. So by the time it comes out, it doesn't have the smell anymore. So the closer we are to the volcano, the more smell that we're gonna have, that typical smell of it. So now we're just gonna go ahead and have our breakfast. So this tour has come to an end, and so does this video has come to an end. So hopefully with this video I have convinced you that a desert can be fun. It can be a pretty interesting place, especially this one here. Like, I think this is a pretty unique desert. I really recommend it, and hopefully you like this video. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.